They say desperation makes you do things you'd never consider. They're right. I was 3 days from eviction when the offer came. Marry a woman old enough to be my grandmother. $15,000 a month. I should have asked why she wanted me. I should have asked a lot of things. A gray sky loomed over the small college town in Texas, its streets slick with rain. I trudged along the sidewalk, my backpack slung over one shoulder, my face etched with worry. At 26, I was juggling my final year of art school, a part-time job, and an avalanche of debts left by my late father. The world seemed to close in tighter every day. My phone buzzed in my pocket, snapping me out of my thoughts. "Ryan Cole speaking," I answered. A composed, authoritative voice responded. "Mr. Cole, this is Victoria Ashford. I'd like to meet with you." "It's regarding your financial situation." I frowned. "I'm sorry, who are you? How do you know about—" "I know enough," she interrupted smoothly. "Let's meet at the Sterling Hotel, 7 p.m. It's important." The call ended before I could protest. Confused but intrigued, I made my way to the upscale hotel. The rain fell harder as I arrived, my jacket doing little to keep me dry. Stepping inside, I was greeted by warm lighting and the aroma of fresh coffee. At a corner table sat Victoria Ashford, a striking woman with silver hair styled impeccably, dressed in a tailored suit that radiated wealth. "Ryan," she greeted, gesturing for me to sit. Her tone was calm, yet commanding. I hesitated before taking the seat opposite her. "Mrs. Ashford, what's this about?" "Straight to the point." "Good," she said, sipping her tea. "Ryan, I know about your debts, the ones your father left behind. I know you're barely scraping by. I'm here to offer a solution." My brows furrowed. "And what would that be?" She set down her cup, her piercing blue eyes meeting mine. "Marry me." The words hung in the air, heavy and surreal. I blinked, sure I'd misheard. "Excuse me." "You heard me," she said, her voice steady. "This isn't about romance. It's a business arrangement. I'll pay off all your debts, ensure your financial security. In return, you'll be my husband. 4 months, that's all?" I let out a disbelieving laugh. "You're serious? Why me? You don't even know me." Victoria leaned forward slightly. "Exactly. You're young, unattached, and desperate enough to consider this. I don't need love, Ryan. I need a companion. Someone to share my name, my estate, and nothing more. Think of it as a contract." I shook my head, my mind racing. "This is insane. What's in it for you?" Her expression softened for the first time. "I've spent my life alone, Ryan. I have no children, no family left. I want companionship, even if it's just for appearances. And I want control of my legacy. A husband will help solidify that." I stood abruptly, the chair scraping the floor. "I can't. I need time to think." "Of course," she replied coolly. "But don't take too long. The offer doesn't stand forever." I walked home in a daze, the rain soaking through my clothes. That night, I sat at the kitchen table with my mother. Her pale face was etched with worry. The cost of her treatments had drained us both, and my younger sister's tuition loomed like a dark cloud. "Ryan," my mother said softly after I explained Victoria's proposition. "I know it sounds unthinkable, but if she's willing to help, maybe it's worth considering." I stared at my hands, torn between my pride and my desperation. "You're asking me to marry a woman I don't love, just to solve our problems?" "I'm asking you to save yourself," she said, her voice trembling. "To save us." The following morning, I returned to the hotel. Victoria was already there, her demeanor as calm and composed as before. "You've decided?" she asked, not looking up from her tablet. I took a deep breath. "I'll do it." She smiled faintly, setting down her tablet. "Good. The arrangements will be made immediately." A week later, I stood in a small courthouse, dressed in a suit Victoria had provided. The ceremony was quiet, witnessed only by Victoria's lawyer and a notary. As we exchanged vows, I couldn't shake the unease in my chest. When the officiant pronounced us husband and wife, Victoria turned to me with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "You may kiss the bride," he said. I froze. We hadn't discussed this. Victoria's eyes met mine, cold and expectant. I leaned in, our lips touching briefly. It felt like sealing a deal with the devil. "Welcome to your new life, Mr. Ashford," she whispered. As we left the courthouse, rain drizzling once more, I looked at the wedding ring on my finger and wondered, have I just saved my family or sold my soul? The gates to Ashford Manor creaked open as the car rolled up the long driveway. The house loomed ahead, a sprawling mansion that could easily pass for a museum. Its towering columns and pristine stone facade exuded old money, but its windows seemed dark and lifeless. I stepped out, suitcase in hand, feeling like a visitor in someone else's dream, or perhaps nightmare. Victoria greeted me in the foyer, her demeanor as polished as ever. "Welcome home, Mr. Ashford," she said. The formal address sent a shiver down my spine. "I trust you'll find everything to your satisfaction. Dinner is at 7. I nodded mutely, following a housekeeper who led me to my room. It was opulent, with a king-sized bed, antique furnishings, and floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked manicured gardens. Despite its luxury, the room felt cold, as if untouched by human warmth. The silence was the first thing I noticed. Not peaceful silence, the kind that makes you whisper even when no one's listening. That evening, I sat stiffly at the long dining table. Victoria was at the other end, 20 feet away, dressed impeccably in a silk blouse and pearls. The food was extravagant, prepared by a chef I hadn't seen, served by staff who moved silently. "I trust you're settling in?" Victoria said, cutting into her filet mignon with surgical precision. "It's different," I replied cautiously. "This place is huge. Feels like I'll get lost." Victoria smirked. "You'll get used to it. Or you won't. Either way, you're here." I bristled at her bluntness. "You didn't mention much about your late husband before." Victoria's knife paused mid-cut. She dabbed her mouth with a napkin before speaking. "He was a businessman. Like your father, their paths crossed once or twice." Her tone darkened. "But as you might imagine, not all encounters end well." My pulse quickened. "What do you mean?" She looked at me, her eyes sharp. "Let's just say unfinished business has a way of lingering." She picked up her glass of wine. "But that's in the past. You'll soon understand why I chose you." Her cryptic words left me uneasy. After dinner, I wandered the halls of the estate. The house was eerily quiet, save for the faint creak of floorboards underfoot. I passed several locked doors, their brass handles gleaming in the dim light. Each one seemed to whisper secrets I wasn't meant to know. Something was wrong. I felt it in the way the staff moved, like mice in a house full of cats. As the days passed, I grew more unsettled. The staff avoided eye contact, speaking in hushed tones when they thought I wasn't listening. I overheard snippets of conversations that made my stomach twist. "Why him?" one maid whispered. "Does he even know?" another replied. "She never does anything without a reason. He'll figure it out eventually. They always do." One evening, while pacing the library, I noticed Victoria's desk. Papers were strewn across its surface, along with a small ornate key. It gleamed under the desk lamp, its intricate design catching my eye. My gaze darted around the room. No one was there. Heart pounding, I reached for it. The key was heavier than I expected, cool to the touch. My mind raced. Could this be for one of the locked doors? I glanced toward the hallway where shadows danced against the walls. My breath quickened as I slipped the key into my pocket. That night, lying in my luxurious but suffocating room, I turned the key over in my hands. A million questions swirled in my mind, but one loomed above all. What is Victoria hiding? And why had she really chosen me? The mansion was shrouded in stillness when I crept down the hall. The key felt like a lead weight in my pocket, its cool surface pressing against my thigh. My pulse quickened as I approached the door I had noticed earlier, its ornate handle gleaming faintly in the moonlight streaming through the windows. Glancing over my shoulder, I turned the key in the lock. The soft click reverberated in the silence, sending a chill down my spine. Slowly, I pushed the door open. The room was a time capsule, frozen in another era. Dusty furniture and faded wallpaper surrounded me. Photographs in tarnished silver frames lined a table, their images capturing happier times. Victoria as a young woman, a man who must have been her late husband, and another young woman I didn't recognize. But it was the stack of papers on the desk that caught my attention. I flipped through them, my eyes widening. Legal documents detailed failed business deals between Victoria's husband and my father. A particular letter, written in sharp, slanted handwriting, accused my father of fraud. You ruined everything. My family was left with nothing because of your lies. My breath hitched when I noticed the last page, a marriage license. My name and Victoria's stared back at me, stark against the paper. It was dated weeks before the wedding, far earlier than I'd known. On the desk lay an old leather-bound diary. I hesitated, then opened it. The entries were Victoria's, revealing a calculated plan to trap me in a marriage that would fulfill her ultimate goal, to settle old scores. I will take everything from him, just as his father did to me. He will be my pawn. I froze as the door creaked behind me. Enjoying yourself? Victoria's voice was icy, cutting through the shadows like a blade. I spun around, guilt and fear writ large on my face. Victoria, you thought you'd find answers here? She stepped into the room, her silhouette sharp against the dim light from the hall. Curiosity killed the cat, Ryan. What do you think you're doing? My voice was low but firm. Why did you really marry me? Is this about my father? Is this some kind of revenge? Victoria's eyes hardened, her usual composed facade cracking. It's not your place to ask questions, Ryan. Just do what you're told, and you'll leave this marriage better off than you started. Isn't that enough for you? My fists clenched. Enough? You've lied to me, manipulated me. This isn't a marriage, it's a trap. Victoria's lips curled into a faint smile, one that didn't reach her eyes. A trap, is it? Maybe you should have thought twice before signing those papers. She stepped closer, her tone venomous. You may think you're smart, Ryan, but you're just like your father, blind to the damage you cause until it's too late. I glared at her, the weight of my father's legacy crushing me anew. If you hated him so much, why take it out on me? I had nothing to do with what he did to your family. Victoria stared at me for a long moment. The silence stretched like a taut string. Finally, she turned on her heel. You're in over your head, Ryan. Stay out of matters that don't concern you. With that, she left the room, her footsteps fading down the hall. Later that night, I lay wide awake in bed, my mind racing. Victoria's words haunted me, but so did the documents and diary. Why had she gone to such lengths to entangle me in her schemes? Was it really just about revenge? My thoughts were interrupted by the faint sound of Victoria's voice. I slipped out of bed and crept toward her study, pressing my ear against the door. Make sure the transfer is complete, Victoria said, her tone sharp and commanding. We can't let him back out now. Time is running out. My blood ran cold. Whatever was happening, I was in deeper than I'd ever imagined. I sat alone in the grand library, my mind a whirlpool of fear and confusion. Victoria's cryptic words and the damning contents of the locked room made it clear I was in over my head. The once imposing estate now felt like a gilded prison, its luxurious trappings concealing dark secrets. That evening, I approached James, the estate's head butler. A man whose calm demeanor suggested he'd seen and heard more than he let on. "James," I said quietly, "I need your help. Something isn't right here." The older man regarded me with a steady gaze, his hands clasped behind his back. "I was wondering how long it would take before you came to me, Mr. Cole. You know something, don't you? About Victoria, about all of this." James hesitated before speaking. "You're not the first young man to be drawn into Victoria's world, Ryan. She's clever, resourceful, and ruthless when it comes to her goals. My advice? Watch your back." My chest tightened. "Why are you still here if you know what she's capable of?" James's expression softened, a flicker of regret passing across his face. "Some of us don't have the luxury of walking away." Determined to find a way out, I began devising a plan. I reached out to a trusted friend from art school, Tom, under the guise of catching up. "Tom, hypothetically, if someone signed a contract under coercion or false pretenses, is there any way to void it?" "Hypothetically? Yes, but it depends on the evidence." "Why? Are you in some kind of trouble?" I deflected. "Just a class project I'm working on. Thanks, man." The next few days, I carefully searched Victoria's office whenever she was away, hoping to uncover something that could explain her obsession with my father. Late one night, as I rifled through her desk, I found an envelope addressed to my father. The letter was a scathing condemnation, written by Victoria herself. It accused my father of embezzlement, fraud, and deceit that had led to the financial ruin of Victoria's family, and ultimately the death of her husband. "You left us with nothing. My husband's heart couldn't take the stress, and he's gone because of you. I will see to it that your family pays for what you've done." My stomach churned. Victoria's actions weren't just about reclaiming her fortune. They were about revenge, fueled by years of pain and anger. Returning the letter to its hiding place, I resolved to act. I couldn't allow Victoria to use me as a tool for her vendetta. That night, I began mapping out possible escape routes from the estate. But Victoria's sharp instincts caught wind of my unease. The next morning, she found me in the breakfast room, her icy presence cutting through the quiet. "You've been busy, haven't you, Ryan?" I froze, my spoon halfway to my mouth. "I don't know what you're talking about." Victoria smiled coldly. "Don't play coy with me. If you think you can outsmart me, you're sorely mistaken. I've dealt with far craftier opponents than you." I swallowed hard, trying to keep my voice steady. "I don't know what you're accusing me of, but I'm not doing anything wrong." Victoria leaned closer, her voice dropping to a venomous whisper. "If you betray me, you'll wish you hadn't. Remember that." She straightened and left the room, leaving me to grapple with the growing realization that escape might be more dangerous than staying. But staying meant surrendering my life to Victoria's twisted plans, a fate I refused to accept. The air in the estate felt charged as I paced the library. The weight of my discovery pressed heavily on my shoulders. The private investigator I'd quietly hired had just left, confirming the devastating truth. Victoria's late husband, Robert Ashford, had been swindled by my father in a fraudulent real estate deal that stripped the Ashford family of their fortune. Robert's death from a heart attack soon after was the final blow, leaving Victoria embittered and determined to exact revenge. Victoria's proposal to marry me had been more than a calculated plan to settle scores. It was a way to make my family suffer, even from beyond the grave. I clenched my fists, anger coursing through me. How could she blame me for my father's sins? But as much as I resented Victoria's actions, I couldn't deny the pain that had driven her. That evening, I met my art school friend Tom in secret. With Tom's help, I compiled the evidence I had collected from Victoria's office and the investigators' findings. Among the documents, we discovered Victoria's involvement in current business dealings that bordered on illegal, shady partnerships, and falsified reports designed to rebuild her empire at any cost. "Ryan, this is enough to take her down," Tom said. "But you need to be careful. If she realizes you're onto her, there's no telling what she might do." I nodded grimly. "She's already done enough damage. It's time to end this." The next morning, I waited in the grand sitting room, the evidence tucked securely in my bag. When Victoria finally entered, her icy composure intact, I stood to face her. "We need to talk," I said. Victoria raised an eyebrow, her tone clipped. "Is that so? What could possibly be so urgent?" My voice was firm as I pulled out the documents. "I know everything about my father, about Robert, about what you've been doing to rebuild your fortune." For the first time, Victoria's calm exterior faltered. Her eyes flicked to the papers in my hand. "You've been snooping again, haven't you?" Her voice was tight. "Do you even understand what your father did to my family?" I stepped closer, my voice rising. "I understand that it ruined you. But what about the people you've hurt along the way? What about me? I didn't do anything to deserve this." Victoria's jaw tightened. "And my family deserved to lose everything? My husband deserved to die of stress and heartbreak while your father lived comfortably? Don't talk to me about fairness, Ryan." My hands shook as I held up the evidence. "Revenge won't bring him back, Victoria, and it won't undo what happened. You've spent your life consumed by this, hurting innocent people, ruining lives. When does it end?" Victoria's shoulders sagged slightly. For a fleeting moment, I thought I saw something close to regret in her eyes. "You remind me of him, you know," she said softly. "Robert. That same fire, that same stubbornness. I didn't expect to feel anything for you, Ryan. But here we are." I hesitated, caught off guard by her admission. "If you really feel that way, then stop this. Let it go before it's too late." But before Victoria could respond, the sound of car tires crunching on gravel echoed through the estate. Moments later, uniformed police officers entered the room, followed by Tom. "Mrs. Victoria Ashford," one officer said, "we have a warrant for your arrest. You're being charged with multiple counts of fraud and conspiracy." Victoria's face hardened as she looked from the officers to me. "You called them." I met her gaze, my voice steady. "You left me no choice." As the officers led Victoria away, she turned back to me one last time. "You may think you've won, Ryan, but revenge isn't so easily undone. Be careful it doesn't consume you too." I watched her go, a mixture of relief and sadness washing over me. I had exposed the truth and protected myself, but the weight of Victoria's parting words lingered. Was she right? Would the shadow of our shared past ever truly fade? The gavel's sharp bang echoed through the courtroom, signaling the end of Victoria Ashford's trial. I sat silently in the back row, watching as the once commanding woman I had married faced the consequences of her actions. Despite everything, my testimony had helped reduce her sentence. I hadn't done it out of sympathy, but out of a deep understanding of the complexities of our shared story. Victoria turned briefly in her seat, her gaze meeting mine. For the first time, there was no trace of the cold calculation that had defined her before. Instead, she offered a faint, almost apologetic nod. Days later, I was summoned to the estate one final time. The grand house, once intimidating and isolating, now felt empty. Victoria had arranged for me to receive the property's deed. The estate lawyer handed me a letter in Victoria's elegant handwriting. It was never about the money, Ryan. It was about closure. Robert deserved justice, but I lost sight of what truly mattered. You've shown me something I thought I'd forgotten, the capacity to move forward. This estate is no longer a monument to my pain. It can be something more. Use it well. I sold the estate. The decision came easily. Its grandeur had been a gilded cage for both Victoria and me. The proceeds allowed me to pay off my family's debts, finally freeing my mother from the shadow of my father's mistakes. With the remainder of the funds, I established a scholarship fund in Robert Ashford's name. It was a way to honor the man who had unknowingly become a casualty in the feud between two families. My return to art school felt like a homecoming. This time, I was more determined than ever to use my education for good. I interned at a legal aid center, helping individuals who, like Victoria, had been wronged and left without recourse. One crisp autumn afternoon, a letter arrived for me. The handwriting was instantly recognizable. I sat on a park bench near campus and unfolded the paper. Victoria's letter read, "Ryan, I've had much time to reflect. For years, I believed that revenge would heal the wounds Robert's death left behind. But I see now that revenge is its own prison. Your kindness, even in the face of my mistakes, taught me something I never expected. Forgiveness is not weakness, it is strength. Thank you for being better than the world around you. Thank you for showing me that we can break the cycles we inherit. I hope you find the happiness I never could. Victoria." I stared at the letter for a long time, the words sinking in. I folded it carefully and tucked it into my jacket pocket, feeling an odd sense of peace. A year after Victoria's arrest, I stood before a group of scholarship recipients at a small ceremony. Behind me hung a simple plaque, the Robert Ashford Scholarship Fund for Second Chances. I spoke with conviction. This fund isn't just about money. It's about creating opportunities for those who might otherwise be forgotten. It's about turning pain into purpose. After the ceremony, I sat alone for a moment, reflecting on the whirlwind of the past year. My path had been irrevocably altered, but for the first time, I felt I was walking in the right direction. I walked away from the ceremony, a soft smile on my face. I glanced up at the clear sky, feeling the weight of the past finally lifting. Victoria's letter remained in my pocket, a quiet reminder of the lessons we both learned about redemption, justice, and the transformative power of forgiveness. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey of resilience, redemption, and forgiveness. Ryan's story reminds us that even in the face of betrayal and hardship, the choices we make can lead us to healing and new beginnings. If this story touched your heart and left you inspired, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends and loved ones. Let's spread the message of hope and second chances far and wide. And if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel for more heartfelt tales that move your soul and remind us all of the power of compassion, forgiveness, and love. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time with another soul-searching story. Until then, take care, and remember to cherish the lessons life brings.